garden friends. I'm out here in front of the herb garden, and today I thought I would take you on a walk through the gardens, through most of the gardens, not all of them, and show you some fun things that are happening right now. The garden season is just roaring through the weeks, and so much is happening on a daily basis, really, and I really need to be better about capturing it. So I'm going to take you through the herb garden, the shade garden, and then up toward the barn gardens and show you some things going on there. I'm going to skip the pond for now because that's going to be another video. There's a lot of stuff that has happened in the pond garden area that I think needs to be its own video, so we'll save that. Although you may get a glimpse of it when we get over to the greenhouse. But anyway, there's some fun things going on that I just, every day I go out there and I'm like, wasn't expecting that. Anyway, I'll show you in a second. But let's take a look at the herb garden, which is just looking beautiful right now. And it's finally cool enough to be outside late morning doing these videos. We just came out of a horrendous heat wave, and although it's a bit sticky today and a little bit cloudy, it's somewhat comfortable. So today's a good day to go around and capture what's going on in the gardens. Let's go. All right, so I'm gonna start over here in the corner with the one planter that I did this year. I actually had to rotate it because the dill just grew up so much, and this is just randomly seeded dill that reseeded itself from last year's dill. So much of it grew up in front of it that you couldn't see the front of this container. Oh, little bumble on the cosmos. So this container is looking fabulous already, and it's only early July. Stuff is starting to flow over the sides. The cosmos, Bright Lights cosmos, are in full flower. I've been deadheading them religiously, so hopefully they keep flowering. I love it. I'm just so happy with it. And unintentionally, I threw these nasturtiums in the garden here, and they also have like orangey yellow flowers, so it kind of all coordinates with the orange theme going on in this pot. The dill looks amazing, and there are so many little pollinators on here. Of course, right now when I'm here with the camera, there's not a single one to be found. But anyway, there are a lot of pollinators on this dill. Makes me happy. And there's more dill coming up. I'm going to actually throw some more dill seed around too, just to hopefully do a second succession once these die off. The golden and purple sages are looking great. And oh yeah, also some self-seeded Verbena bonariensis is popping up. And I love the contrast of the acid yellow and the almost acidy purple together. That just looks so good. Speaking of purple, the phenomenal lavender is in full bloom, and it is so gorgeous. And I walk by and make sure I brush up against it to get that lovely lavender smell. It's amazing. The two daylily bunches here at the entrance to the herb garden are in full bud and should be blooming soon. These are going to be that beautiful salmony pink, which I'll show you elsewhere in the garden because I've got other ones, other cuttings of these that are actually opening up now. Alright, so get into the main part of the garden. The oregano and marjoram, I just allow to go to flower because the pollinators they need the flowers so much. And I like to support our local pollinators. So I just let it go crazy, and it gets huge and somewhat out of control. I've already hacked it back from the edge here so that we could actually walk through and get to the porch. But you can see the marjoram flowers are really beautiful. And again, the pollinators do love it. Tucked in are some other oreganos, and again I've had to kind of hack back the big oregano and the marjoram so that they could get a little bit of light. But there's some golden oregano here, and then some variegated oregano. that was suffering a bit because they were completely swamped by the marjoram. And back here, the sage corner is just looking so lovely. All right, I'm going to swing the camera around to the center of the herb garden. And this is my smoky purple and green basil island, if you will. And the basil, with the heat we just had recently, has really taken off. I've already done a couple of pinching back the tips and the flowers to make them bushier. So they're just looking really, really good. And the Thai basil is flowering. I'll probably pinch that back again, but I love the flowers. They're just so pretty. And then the bronze fennel is really starting to grow here. Took a while to take off. The purple hyacinth beans are making their way up the trellis here, the little obelisk, and they're at the top and sticking out over. So they grow pretty fast once they get started. So I'm so happy with this combination every year, and I repeat myself. I do it often, but I love it. The lemongrass too, with the heat we've had, is really, really starting to grow. So I just think this is such a beautiful combination. I think though, the one thing it might need is a dash of orange. What do you think? Or a dash of like hot pink, something bright. Maybe next year I'll throw in a couple of Bright Lights Cosmos. We'll see. I do have a few randomly self-sown Verbena bonariensis that I allowed to grow up. Just a few, but I thought that might be a nice little accent in this section of the herb garden. All right, so that is the center of the herb garden. Just looking so nice. Let's swing over here to a section that's not looking quite as nice. This is my mint patch, and as mint will do, mint is going crazy, different mints. And I let it, and I just cut it back in the fall, dig it out. But my parsley is not doing well, and I don't know why. The flat leaf parsley is definitely doing better than the curly leaf, but even it is not quite happy this year. I'm not sure why. Some more randomly self-sown dill, and again more mint. These mints have all combined. I have, oh, and here is a lamb's quarters that got away from my weeding. Let me yank this out. There we go. Okay. So there's regular like mojito mint, peppermint, or no, just regular mojito mint in here, as well as spearmint, I believe. And I think this thinner leaf is the spearmint, whereas this toothed, rougher, thicker leaf is the regular mojito mint. And then I've got chocolate and orange mint in this area here. And without smelling each one, I can't tell which one is which. But it all kind of runs together. Behind it, I have morning glories that have self-sown themselves for years. And I whittle them all down to a few, and I let a few just sort of scramble over the rocks. So they're starting to wander now. Borage, looking beautiful. The flowers are just so pretty. I don't know if my camera's going to focus on that or not. But they're so beautiful, and the bumblebees love them. Speaking of, all right, I threw in some nasturtiums here and there, and they are already blooming. Looking lovely, and they'll just scramble all over. I believe this is a savory that struggled last year, and I just left it in. Seems to be growing a bit. The lemon balm is just out of control. Yeah. So this is the calendula that I grew from seed, and it's flowering like crazy. Looking great. And I stuck that in and amongst various areas along the edge here. And I have one more area where I have it. All right, so this lemon balm, I'm gonna have to make a decision. Probably in the fall, I'm gonna pull out some of this and maybe just leave like one. I have, I think, 3, maybe a few more in here. And I think that's just too much, way too much. And I'll show you the catnip on the other side that I had to hack back the other day too, just to make room in this garden. The lemon basil tucked in here needed some space, so I dug out, well, not dug out, cut back a big chunk of the lemon balm to give this lemon basil some room. But it seems to be holding its own. I cut it back pretty hard. It was getting a bit leggy. Here's the other catnip mound, and again, got way too big. I think there are 3 plants in here. I'm probably next year going to narrow it down to maybe 1, just so it doesn't dominate the garden. Let me walk around the outside, and you'll see it's just, it's huge now, and this is cut back probably by 1/3, maybe almost half. So yeah, we'll keep on that. The thyme is flowering and full of little tiny pollinators. And then along the front edge, the portulacas just self-sowed themselves like crazy. And they are all throughout this edge here and starting to bloom. They're happy little flower colors. Look at all these colors. Just ridiculous. I love it. Another little native bee in here. The other thing that's struggling besides the parsley, this is an African blue basil that I stuck here in the corner. It doesn't look happy. I think it needs some fertilizer, so maybe we'll give it a dose of that and see if that helps. So all in all, the herb garden is just looking so lush and full right now. Full of flowers and good things. Oh, I love it. All right, turning from the herb garden, we're gonna go across the front lawn, such that it is. The lavender border around the front door landing area is just amazingly full of flowers and bumblebees. There are some plants in here that continue to struggle. And I'll have to decide whether or not I want to replace them. I've got replacements in the vegetable garden, but most of them are doing really, really well. And the overall effect is what I wanted. It just looks so cool. All right, so let's go to the shade garden. Boom! That Aurelia, the Sun King Aurelia, is just insane. I love it. But what really knocked me back were these. Oh my goodness. This is woodland tobacco, and they were tiny little plants when I put them in, and I thought they would only be like 6 to 12 inches wide, something like that, and then grow upward with their spikes of beautiful white flowers. Nope. So I think I'm going to have to pull some of these to make room. I've already had to pull some leaves off just to keep the poor boxwoods from being overwhelmed. There is a boxwood in here. I don't want to spend too much time touching these leaves because it is tobacco. Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to come in here and pull some of these. So I don't want to lose the Roseanne geraniums that are trying to peek themselves out from behind the leaves. And I certainly don't want to lose the boxwoods. But isn't that crazy? Look at that. Unreal. And the ones over here, there must be something in this soil because I have others further up in the shade garden that are not this crazy. And you can see they're moderately less crazy here. So whatever is in this section of the garden, these woodland tobacco really love it. And they're also covering up the Mucdenia. There's 2 more under here. I definitely have to liberate those. But everything else is looking pretty good in the shade garden. The foxgloves have all gone by, and the naked lady lily foliage has died back. So I'm going to have a big blank space here, and I need to work on getting that filled more permanently in a better way, so I don't end up with this big gap here. So I'm thinking, got my thinking cap on, and trying to figure out what I can stick here. If you guys have any ideas, I'd appreciate comments below. But I'll be pulling out most of these foxgloves because they will die back and be done. They won't come back next year. And so I'm going to have a big blank space here that I need to fill. All right, let's quickly go on the other side. God, that Aurelia is just insane. I love it. It's so pretty. So the heucheras continue to have their blooms above. Lady's mantle, more geraniums, lots of pretty things. Brunnera. Yeah, it's actually looking pretty good. And the hostas that survived the great vole attack are doing really, really well. A stick fell from the maple and fell through the hosta leaf. How does that even happen? All right. The little coleus are starting to go. I probably need to pinch them back a little bit more. Tiarella in bloom. Isn't that pretty? So yeah, definitely looking very lush in this area here. The Hakanakloa is just to die for, isn't it? Oh. And my little lady's mantle seedling farm is seems to be expanding, actually. So later on in the year I'll take these and dig them up and put them elsewhere in the gardens. Because one can never have too much lady's mantle, right? I mean, look at that. I actually had to hack back this hosta because I have a couple of Hakanakloa cuttings underneath and they were just getting swamped. I had meant to divide this hosta probably 2 years ago. Still haven't done it. I definitely need to do that in the fall because it's just too big and it's starting to swamp everything. Speaking of swamping, this ajuga, variegated ajuga, has, even though I pulled some of it out, has gone way further into the path than I really want. So a lot of this I'm going to hack out and probably put it up on the barn slope behind the Solomon seal, way up there, to help hold the slope soil, which I'll show you in a second because there's a lot going on up there that I need to show you. So Annabelle, thankfully, Annabelle seems to be doing really well and is blooming. I'm so happy. I was a little worried when I hacked Annabelle up into various parts that, you know, there was a risk that she wasn't going to make it. But she seems to be doing really well. So Wendy, Annabelle lives, and actually I will show you, she lives on in many other places. So I have Annabelles everywhere now, and I'm so happy about that. But this is the original Annabelle. Yeah, very happy. So all in all, happy with the shade garden where it is right now. Could use some more plantings underneath the maple to deal with that bare spot that I'm going to have. But for the most part, I think I can focus my energies elsewhere this season. And then, yeah, we'll figure out that blank spot. Okay, turning onto the patio area and the kitchen view garden. You can see that the daylilies are ready to burst. And let me show you from a different angle, but first let's take a look at this lower bed. My one surviving Boom Chocolata is just about done flowering, but it's still really pretty. I love the color of the foliage. The ladies' mantle in this section, just going nuts. And even the little ones that I planted earlier this year, they were tiny, they're starting to fill in too. And the overall effect here, I'm really liking. The peacock orchids, which are a member of the gladiola family, are growing well. They won't bloom till probably August. They're very late bloomers. The Langsdorff Nicotiana tobacco, flowering tobacco, is just, it's looking so lovely. The hummingbirds have been in here almost every day taking nectar from these flowers, so I'm really glad I planted them. The Wigilias are done blooming, but they are still looking fabulous with their colors. And then let me step back here so you can kind of get the full view here. The daylilies along the top of the wall are so full of blooms, and they're just starting to bloom. I love it. We've got a bunch of different colors in here. We've got this orangey yellow. I believe there's a lemony yellow as well. And then this bicolor daylily that's yellow and sort of like a purpley red. And then at the top here, some of those salmony pink daylilies. And all of these were here on the property. I didn't buy any of these. They came with the property, and I've just been redistributing them. So again, happy with where this is right now. Things always evolve and change, but right now I think I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. Now as we walk toward the staircase to go up into the upper levels, just pan across to the disaster of the pollinator border. Yeah, working on it, as you can see. This section here has been dug out, completely dug out, and then as I dig up perennials in the mess, I've been putting them in clusters here. Clusters that sort of try to make sense. I don't know if that comes across well or not, but it's progress, and I'm happy with that progress. The weeds in here, though, I've been up here almost every day with the hoe, just trying to keep the weeds from coming back up until I can get this composted. Yeah, but there are some bright things in here, some pretty things. This is Stachys homolo, I believe, or betony, as it's also known. Those were buried. Actually, I rescued them out in here somewhere. I remembered I had them, and I'm like, I gotta go get those before they die, and they were being swamped by something. So I dug them up and stuck them in here, and they seem much, much happier. Another weed. Yep. So here are some alliums that were given to me by a friend a while back. There's some sedum. It's not autumn joy, it's some other variety. And I know they're not called sedum anymore, but I don't know, can't remember the new name. I believe it begins with an H. And then I planted some white lavender in here. That's just going over. I have to prune these back. So a little patch of white lavender. Behind that we have Nepeta, and then wedding candles verbascum, which I grew from seed, and then self-sows itself everywhere, which I love. So I'm doing groupings of it. And I will dig some of these out, and I've got seedlings in the greenhouse. But I think it just gives a really pretty vertical accent, white vertical accent. Don't have a lot of white in this garden. So I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to grow more of it in clusters throughout eventually throughout this entire border. I think it'll be really beautiful. All right. So let's walk up these stairs, which are in full sedum at the moment. And hens and chicks. Just so lovely. It's just a riot of sedums and thyme, different thymes. I had to actually cut this back. This thyme is a bit more, it's a creeping thyme, but it's a bit more vertical. And I think I'm going to end up replacing it with this creeping thyme here, which is much more compact, just so it doesn't block the stair steps. It's already precarious enough walking up this stair set. Yeah, so that's a future thing. The Nepeta hedges here have been all cut back. They had gone over, so cutting them back in a few weeks to a month, these will be in bloom again. So up here on the lower part of the kitchen view garden, we can get a closer view of the daylilies, which, look at how many blossoms. So these are going to explode in the next coming weeks, like 2 weeks or so. They'll probably bloom actually more for like close to a month. So I think some of these are later than others. So this will be really pretty. Drumstick alliums popping up all over. This is my favorite allium. I love the color. It's so richly like cranberry purple. So yeah, have those all over the place. Just noticed this big hole under the peony. Rodents. All right, so on this level also have some more Langsdorff tobacco. I had extra plants. And then I have these evergreen shrubs that will remain. Once the daylilies die back in the fall, there'll be some visual interest up here from the kitchen. And those will slowly fill in, hopefully, and look fabulous. All right, so we're going to go back to the staircase and up to the upper level. Ooh, I just saw a garter snake. Oh. All right, momentary distraction for the garter snake. I love snakes. I know a lot of people don't, but I think they're so helpful in the garden, especially the garter snakes, and we have milk snakes here on the farm. They help keep rodents and other things in check, and they're just beautiful. So okay, we're at the top here, the garden path of the kitchen view garden and the barn slope garden. Lots going on there. And here's the boxwood hedge. So the fire and ice hydrangeas are coming into bloom, looking wonderful. It took a while for these to settle in, but I'm so happy I have them here. They look so pretty. Some coreopsis, which I need to deadhead. Desperately need deadheading. This one is, hang on here, Early Sunrise Coreopsis. And a My Monet Wigelia in there. Some more alliums. And then look at this. Isn't this just... So this is, I grew this from seed. It's a seed mix called Paradiso Mix. And as you can see, the bees are loving it. And it's just sort of a random mix of colors. So you don't really know what you're going to get. There's some, yellows, a bunch of different types of pinks. This one is like a pale pink, but with like sort of green undertones. Yeah, it's beautiful. And so I was looking at this yesterday, actually, and next to it was a patch of, and I'll feed a video in here, or clip a video into here, a bunch of prairie coneflowers over here. And they just didn't fit. I wasn't happy with what they look like. It just didn't, I don't know. I was much happier with the Paradiso Tall Mix. So I decided they needed to come out. So yesterday I dug them out and put them into the new pollinator border area that I'm working on. Found them a spot there, dug them in, watered them, got them all settled, and gave them a good haircut because they do have a pretty extensive root system, so they needed to lose part of their foliage so they wouldn't completely wilt and struggle. So I got them all settled in, and then I went to the vegetable garden and dug out some of the Paradiso tall mix that I had waiting in there and brought them up here and put them in. And so now they look like this. Look kind of sad right now, but they will fill in, and next year they'll be like this. So there'll be just a riot of color along this section here in amongst all of the shrubbery. So already I know there are multiple different colors, yellows, some oranges, pinks, kind of a pinky, flamey, red. Not sure. It's beautiful though, whatever it is. And then what I think are going to be some lighter colored ones, just judging by the blooms. So we'll see. Another beautiful orange. So I think this fits much better than those prairie coneflowers. Also stuck in some of the white lavender here and in other places as well. And you can see more drumstick alliums popping up. I'm going to definitely be adding more of these drumstick alliums to this section. I think they're so fun. Alright, so we'll go from the kitchen view garden up to this barn slope garden, and let me back up here so you can kind of get a better view. And this was not an effect I expected, but I love it. I planted some jasmine-scented tobacco, Nicotiana, and they were looking pretty sad. And then all of a sudden, the heat, I guess, it's just this puffy cloud of white happiness. I love it. So I interplanted this jasmine-scented tobacco with cupcake white cosmos, which need a good deadhead right now, actually. And together they look so pretty. I think I'd mentioned in a previous video, I'm trying to keep this sort of a loosely defined white garden, and it seems to be shaping up that way, just random plant choices. But yeah, I love it. Now I'm trying to think of perennials that I can put in here that would give the same effect. So something to think about over the winter, but it's looking great right now. I love it. It bothers me every time I walk down this path that I haven't finished the rock edging, but I know I can't do that because I have other things that need to take priority during the growing season, and moving rocks is not one of them. So I'm just going to have to live with it until the cooler weather, and then I'll finish it. In the meantime, I will admire the pretty flowers. So here's the second planting of Annabelle hydrangeas. These were just little sticks I put in the ground and kept my fingers crossed, and they're doing great. Even have some blooms. I'm gonna need to maybe give them a little fertilizer. They're looking slightly pale, but the intent is to form a big hedge of Annabelle here and have the vertical accent of the North Pole arborvitae along the corner of the barn. I think that's going to be so pretty. The calamintha is still blooming. So this is like its second month of blooming. It just keeps blooming. And I'm not deadheading it. So yeah, it's great. Okay, so the barn slope garden, the daylily, the orange daylily, I guess hedge, if you will, really it's holding the ground in place while being resistant to snow dump from the roof. And I think it's doing a good job. It's about ready to burst into bloom, which will be interesting. I've added a whole bunch of things to this barn slope garden that I can't wait to show you. Some of this has been here for a little while, so you may have already seen this. This is a white rhododendron, and these are Japanese Pieris, a variety called Purity, which have white blooms. The daffodil foliage is still up. It's the first week of July, and yeah, it's still up. So I find it kind of annoying at this stage. I just want to like cut it all back. I don't know. I think maybe I'll let it go another week and then cut it back, but it's fairly annoying. In front of this, I'm trying to cover the ground, and as you can see, maybe the camera will show it, but the soil here, we've had a couple of heavy rains, and we do have quite a bit of erosion on this slope. I haven't put any bark mulch on it yet. I will, to slow down the drainage off this hill. But really the main goal is to get this fully planted with shrubs and ground covers that stay year-round. So I've got the ajuga, which I'm going to plant more of, which is a fabulous ground cover. This carex here, which stays evergreen throughout the winter. Big clumps of that. I've added some heuchera, native heuchera, here that I got from a local native plant nursery, so big clusters of that. And then geranium macrorhizum, I had 2 big clumps of it further down the slope garden in the full sun, and it was struggling a bit, so I broke it up into a bunch of clumps. It seems much happier here in the shade, part shade. So I've got that running across, and that'll form big clumps. And continue to add things that will hold the soil back. Rhododendron Olgamezet. And then a couple of tough stuff hydrangeas, which are looking pretty good, actually. There's another one over here that is looking pretty nice as well. Behind that, I have a mountain laurel called Kaleidoscope. It was not in bloom when I bought it. Hopefully next year it will bloom, but it has pretty reddish pink flowers with a white edge. Really beautiful. And another Olgamezet rhododendron. And then these are the 3 azaleas, 1, 2, and there's a third one down there, right there, that got mowed down by the deer. I kind of lost hope, but I decided to give them one more chance, and they seem to be bouncing back. I gave them a good shot of Hollytone fertilizer, put some aluminum sulfate in the soil to help acidify it a little more, because this is all fill in here, which is probably not acidic. So all of these evergreens actually got the same treatment. And they seem to be bouncing back, so I'm going to leave them for now. We'll see how they do. Behind that, I've got some clumps of Pennsylvania sedge, again trying to put plants in here that remain evergreen throughout the year and do a good job of holding soil. So hopefully those will grow up pretty soon in amongst the daffodil foliage. Some liriope. The weeds in this garden, because I haven't mulched it yet, it's just a constant battle, isn't it? Whew. All right, so I put in an inkberry. This is a shamrock inkberry. Does well in part shade situations, which this is. And then another Olgamezet rhododendron, another of the azaleas. And then I put in a Green Mountain boxwood. Yes, it has a ring of stones. I don't normally do that to plants, but the day after I planted this, I came out and the whole root ball was dug out. We think it was a woodchuck, but I put the stones around it just temporarily to try to distract the woodchuck, and it hasn't been dug up yet, so hopefully it's moved on. We're working on removing the woodchuck, but we haven't yet. It's a never-ending pest battle in this part of the country. So I still need to add some more stuff here to help slow down the soil erosion. Next to it though, look at these Annabelles. This was another clump of Annabelle that I dug up down by the patio garden, split it into 3 pieces, and it apparently has found its favorite spot because these are just amazing. This is, 2 months after I stuck them in here, and they're just going crazy. So I'm so happy. Look at these lovely, look at the size of these. This is my hand. They're massive. I love it. Okay, so now we're getting into the newer part of the plantings and fresh bark mulch, so it looks really good. But before I get into that, I just have to turn and show you the blueberry patch, which I'm about to net today. That's one of my projects for the day, because I noticed the blueberries are turning. Just like that. They were green, like seemingly 2 days ago. But now they're starting to turn. So I'm gonna have to put up all the bird netting over the structure and keep the birds out. Otherwise we will get no blueberries. Okay, back to the barn slope garden. So next to the Annabelle, I've added a bunch of things. This was where the geranium macrorrhizum clumps were, and they just weren't happy. Too much sun. I have another 2 that are not happy that I have to do as well. And those got redistributed along the bottom of this part of the garden. So I needed to fill in this area, and so I bought some more geranium sanguineum. This is a pink version. I'll put the name down below, because I can't remember it. And then interspersed with some lamb's ears. This is the Helen von Stein classic lamb's ear. So just alternated to form a nice little border in this garden. Oh, actually, in this one, still has a pink flower. These were all in flower when I bought them. They've gone by. Isn't that pretty? So yeah, I've added a few more shrubs, a lot more shrubs actually. And again, this garden is not finished. Work in progress. So here is a willow leaf cotoneaster that is great for slope erosion. So I thought I'd try it here. It's a bit of a slope, and I thought that would be great. And it has little white flowers and red berries, but I'm growing it totally for the foliage and for the fact that it will spread and help slow erosion on this slope. Behind it is the lemon thread cypress that will add a nice bright punch of yellow here. This is the blue muffin viburnum, looking fabulous, and actually has some berries this year, maybe. Oh, they're starting to fall apart, but it had some nice blooms earlier. The woodchuck, believe it or not, somehow managed to get up here and pull this down and nip off some of the tips here. But that's okay, it'll be fine. These are a couple of spireas that actually came off of the spirea in the kitchen view garden. I just stuck them in here. We'll see how they do. And then the euonymus that I transplanted from the other side of the barn slope garden that got eaten by the deer. But as you can see, it's flushed with new growth. Looks great. Another Green Mountain boxwood, again ringed with stones temporarily. I will take these off because I am not that kind of person to ring all of my individual plants with stones. I just want to make sure the root ball doesn't get dug out again. So temporarily those rocks are there. Behind the Green Mountain boxwood, I have a true blue saguaro cypress. And it's not looking terribly blue right now, but as it ages, it will probably grow about 4 feet tall, be a nice blue lump in amongst all the other foliage types. Behind it, I tucked in 2 Nishiki willow cuttings. And if you remember the Nishiki willow on the other side of the barn slope garden, these get huge. So this will be a mass of bright white and pink and green foliage in this blank spot. Doesn't look like much now, but I promise you it will be in a couple of years. Another little giant round arborvitae. And then a wine and roses Wigelia next to the Hinoki cypress. I think this is Wells Special. Yeah. One of the bluebeards that was over on the other side of the barn slope, I moved here, and it seems to be doing really well. One of them died, and I moved the other one onto the other side. I'll show you that in a second. And then this mass, I think this may get moved in the fall. This is, I believe this is sweet coneflower. Let me check the tag here. Oop. Of course, it's buried in the mulch. Yeah, sweet coneflower, Rudbeckia. Sweet coneflower. Started this from seed. Wasn't expecting it to get this tall. Gonna leave it for the season. It's a bad time to be digging up perennials right now in the heat. But yeah, it's going crazy. Bright yellow flowers eventually. And I'm gonna rework this corner as well. I'm not entirely happy with this. I thought these were yellow daylilies. They're not. They're salmon pink, which are beautiful, but I was thinking yellow for some reason. So I may replace these, or I may move these. These are rose campion. Both are beautiful. I just don't like them together, and especially with the tough stuff hydrangea behind it. So I was hoping for yellow for a bit more contrast. Anyway, the rose campion are looking fabulous. It's one of my favorite like cottage garden antique plants. I mean, you cannot find a brighter fuchsia. So lovely. And it self-sows everywhere, which is great. So yeah, I threw in a tiny, a tough stuff hydrangea, reblooming hydrangea here. The other ones were tiny tough stuff. There is a difference, apparently. Too many tough stuff hydrangeas. But the color is just fabulous. The dark leaves, love it. All right, I'm gonna walk through the garden because we have the deer fencing right here. I don't want to be shining the camera through the deer fencing. This is the other bluebeard that I stuffed in here. And then 3 June Bride spireas. 1, 2, and 3. I thought would make a nice ring around the Hinoki cypress from the driveway view. Don't look like much now because they've already bloomed and gone by, but they will have bright white blooms. Some more Nepeta that I grew from seed, transferred from the other garden. That needs to be shorn back. And then a few more new plantings up here that are kind of interesting, actually. So this is a brandywine viburnum that has white blooms that have gone by. Really pretty. But they have these beautiful waxy leaves. Kind of unusual. I love it. And they're supposed to have berries that are different colors. I think pink that fade to blue, or like a, yeah, they're initially pink and then they turn like a deep blue. So that'll be interesting to watch if the rodents don't all get them. Up here, another Wigelia, and this one, I can't remember, this is, this is Sonic Bloom Pearl, reblooming Wigelia. And it actually has, it was in bloom and then stopped for a little bit, and it's still got more blooms to come. But very pretty here, I think. Next to the golden emerald arborvitae that was here before. And then I put in I think this is is it bird's nest spruce? I think this is a bird's nest spruce. I'll put that on the screen. Another spirea cutting that'll grow up, and then some more of the salmon pink daylilies. This one I knew were these I knew were salmon pink. This actually went by yesterday. So I was expecting that to be pink. The other ones I was not expecting those to be pink. These are the Limelight Prime hydrangeas. Really growing well this year. Filling in beautifully. And then behind them is the other North Pole arborvitae on the corner of the barn. So let me walk down. Oh, and here's the Coosa dogwood. Finally looking really, really good. I was a little worried about this spring. All right, let's walk down here so you can kind of get the overview of how this garden is developing. And it's coming together. I mean, it's obviously not done at this point, but it is slowly coming together. Oop. Yeah, the different colors in the bark mulch really do bother me, but this new bark mulch will fade quickly. I still have many more things to add to this garden, but I think this is a good start. My goal here is, as with the other gardens, just a sort of a mix of foliage textures and colors and things that will provide interest all throughout the season. So as one thing fades, something else draws your attention. Oh, and Susie has joined us. Hi, Miss Susie. So yeah, making progress, slowly making progress. If you remember, this was one of my goals, one of my 5 goals this year, was filling in these gardens, these new gardens, before I start any other new gardens. And I think we're making good progress. You can see Susie is sitting on top of what was once the wood chip path, but is now wood chips and dirt from the slope. So yeah, this area of the rock wall may be a more critical project now that I'm seeing the erosion coming off the barn slope here. Hey, Suze. No, puppy. So let's walk back. Just take a look at a few more things in the shade garden, and then I think we'll wrap it up. So as we round the corner here, this carex hedge is doing really well, and I think I'm going to need to divide it again this fall and find new homes for the divisions. Behind it, we have some Japanese anemones, and I cannot remember the name. It's not Honorine Jobert. Yeah, I'll put the name up on the screen, but those are doing really well. Can't wait to spread those around maybe a little further this way to fill in this gap between the carex and the Solomon seal, which I'm also going to have to hack back a little bit because Solomon seal can be fairly thuggish. I've got a mixture of astilbes and lamium, a few leftover foxgloves, and of course lady's mantle. This is the second Japanese Aurelia that is doing okay. Obviously not as good as its counterpart down there, but seems to be holding its own. And then I've got a couple of Hillside Black Beauty, Actea, used to be called Simicifuga. And I love the contrast between the bright yellow and the dark purple. Really pretty. So 3 of those are getting ready to bloom soon, so those will be nice. And here's another patch of the woodland tobacco, much more restrained than the monsters down there. Although this is more directly under the maple, so understandable that it is struggling a little bit. More Brunnera. Daffodil foliage. Ugh, I really just want to cut this off. It's starting to go over, so I may just cut it off. It just looks untidy. There's some coleus and some ajuga and some forget-me-nots in here for next year, as well as some Jacob's Ladder new seedlings and a Sandy Claus epimedium. And here's the final patch of woodland tobacco. These I just stuck in here because I had them left over. And this is sort of the size I thought they were going to be. Yeah, no. All right. Well, let's walk down here. And I think that is it for today's garden walk around. Okay, I lied. I have one more thing I just want to show you. And we have to walk to the greenhouse to see it. So we'll walk across the patio. As a plane goes overhead, you can see I've been working in the garden. Yeah, and it's funny, even though this is a complete disaster, there are still little rays of light popping up. You know, some heliopsis, some coneflowers. There's the lemon yellow daylily that I thought was on the corner. So that'll get dug up. Some bee balm. Another salmon pink daylily. There's all kinds of stuff in here. The Major Wheeler honeysuckle is still blooming. Beautiful. Yeah, so there's still lots of things in here to dig out. We're making progress. You can see we've been doing some digging here. The Carl Forster and Miscanthus grasses on the back there are looking great. I'll show you that plan later in another video. But yeah, I wanted to just show you the greenhouse here. Hang on. I should note, you'll notice these are not planted. I made the executive decision in about May that I was not going to plant these this year. I just have too many things that need attention, too many new gardens going in, so next year these will be planted. All right, so greenhouse, I have a bunch of material. These are a whole bunch of agastache waiting to go in to the pollinator garden. And I've got some things in here that are also in need of going into the pollinator garden. But I have to show you this. Are these not the most adorable little things you've ever seen? This is Louisia. I'll put the name up. I got these as seeds. I just thought they were cute. I thought I'd put them in containers. Oh my god, I love these. And they're like different colors. There's this peachy color. There's a striped pink one, a white one. This one's like white with almost hints of yellow. Where have you been all my life? These are so cute. And they're only like, I don't know, 4 or 6 inches tall. I need to do way more research about this. These are supposed to be perennial. I think these might be able to go out into the rock wall garden. But I need to have these like every year in containers. Oh my god. They are so cute. Yeah, all right. So that was my botany nerd freakout, right? But really, what is not to love about these? All right, now that I've recovered from my little botany nerd moment in the greenhouse, I think that's going to be it for today. I've got to get busy on the blueberries, the blueberry netting, and the day's getting away from me already. So thank you for joining me on this little walk around some of the gardens. Please stay tuned for another video, hopefully maybe this week, we'll see, on the pond garden, because there's lots of cool stuff going on there. And of course, the This Week in the Garden series that I'll be filming throughout the week. I'll get that video up on Sunday. So again, thank you for joining me. I do appreciate that you're here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.